What's going on, people? I'm back again with another podcast. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, we're talking about yesterday's fantastic point at City Ground against Arsenal. If you want to get involved in the chat, please get your comments in now. If you're new to my channel, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. And if to my sponsor as well, to Alan Holland's Far and Wide. If you want to know more about my new sponsors, the link is in the description. Right, we've got the man himself, Des Oldham, to talk about yesterday's game. If you've not seen his after game reaction, please go and follow Des on there as well, and make sure you follow him on Instagram as well. He's got two accounts, Des Oldham and Far We Are Travelled as well. So make sure you follow that as well. But yeah, a great point yesterday against a team that's top of the league. And we thought we'd get Des's view. How are you, Des?
I'm good. It's a little bit nicer waking up on a Sunday morning, isn't it? With even though it's raining, with a positive result behind us, and that's what it was, wasn't it? Nothing to get over the top about, but it was a really good performance and a really good result.
Exactly. So, like I said, people get involved in the chat. Like I said, we're gonna do different subjects throughout about yesterday's game, and we are going to talk about, because me and Des are going to Prague as well, our fourth away trip. So we are going to talk about the end of the show. So if anyone's going to Prague, get in the comment section as well. Des, let's talk about the points. Like, it was an important point against the top of the league. So what was your thoughts?
Sorry, like I just touched on there, it was a really good performance, really positive after the I was going to use a term that we often use, but the disappointment of Wrexham and everything that came with that. We know there was a bit of an aftermath and an inquiry into what happened there. So it was all about sort of righting that wrong to some degree, getting back to a feeling we almost had after West Ham. West Ham wasn't great either. Nothing's been great of late, but in the Premier League, we're starting to build again, and you could see signs yesterday with Sangare returning. I know we'll talk about him, and one or two other players playing well, and one or two ideas seem to be sort of played out on the pitch. Dyche took a lot of stick recently, but I felt you could really see what they were trying to achieve, and the effort and desire put in. Again, it's a big team. And I've been very critical. When we play the big teams, we tend to do okay. And when we don't play big teams, we tend not to care so much. You could see, again, the performance. And what they've got to do with that is take it forward, use it as a building block for Braga, Brentford and Crystal Palace and more winnable fixtures coming forward. Of course, against Arsenal, we were going to be under a lot of pressure. I felt we soaked up the initial pressure. I felt we was a match for them, more than a match for them. They had to watch what we were doing as much as we had to watch what they were doing, even though we weren't really sort of creating lots of opportunities. And I think, as I said on my post match, in the 38th minute, I looked up at the clock. I made a mental note. We got that free kick where Anderson whipped it in, and it just seemed to spark us into it. Well, it was when Hudson-Odoi basically spurted into the box, wasn't it? And that seemed to kickstart us. The free kick sort of stung the keeper's hands. There was a bit of a scramble in the box. And from there till half time, I thought till half time and for the next 15 minutes after, I thought we took real control. The game was played in Arsenal's half. They weren't really coming out. I thought Gyökeres, and we're not really commenting on them, but I thought he was pathetic, to be honest.
Des, I didn't recognise him first half.
No, I didn't. And then I realised they were playing and thought, how poor is he? But I thought Forest took control of the game again without really doing too much. They're good, and you're always having to watch your back against Arsenal. They are a good side and they've got some top quality players. The midfield players are so technical. And then I think the game really sort of swung back towards them when they made the changes, because it's quite embarrassing when you can, for everyone else, not for them, when you can take off Madueke and bring on Saka.
Exactly.
And bring on Eze, and I thought Saka offered a bit more than Madueke. Nico Williams done a really good job on him. I thought Aina did a really good job on Martinelli, sort of tamed them, and they were subbed early, basically, both of them. And then when Arsenal brought on fresh legs and such players as those, they sort of come hard at us again. And they only had one or two opportunities, but I've said it in a WhatsApp group this morning with you guys. They didn't do enough to win. They just didn't do enough to win. I don't think Forest did enough to win, but I think Forest did enough to earn a point because they had to work extremely hard. And I think that's what it boils down to. And like I say, some of the things that we've been wanting to see, more shape, more discipline, more commitment and desire. I felt it was a good performance in those areas.
Before I'm going for the chat, hi Colin, I hope you're doing well. People, if you want to be like Colin and be a member, please do. Lee, good afternoon. I hope you are my friend. Cal, I hope you and Harry are okay. Afternoon, Dore and Des. Hope you're good. Much better performance than yesterday. Massive point. It was. Rob says, played well yesterday, Ben. Great having Sakai back. Just need a strike in the window. You Reds. Lee says, great performance from last. Dominguez, absolutely beast. He was everywhere. And on the pen, never in month. Okay. Right decision for change. Talk about Arsenal being salty for it, and their bench is a bit strong. We'll talk about individual players, Des, and we'll start with Sells. And two good saves, great saves, if I'm honest. But how do you think about the performance? And people in the chat, Sells, for me, was my man of the match, if I'm honest. Two great saves. But Des, what's your thoughts on Sells?
Yeah, and I can't argue with that. I didn't personally, when I come out of the game, I didn't give him man of the match myself. I didn't really know the extent of the save, how good the saves were. You get a different angle sometimes when you're in the ground. I knew they were good saves, and I knew he played really well. But again, he's just reiterated that he's Forest's #1 goalkeeper, isn't he? And with Big John out for the end of the season, although I don't think many of us were that impressed or that enamoured with him, it just underlines the fact that he is the #1 goalkeeper, and he performed yesterday like he did much of the time last season when probably he had more confidence in the defence, he had more confidence in the team. It works both ways. You always talk about defence needing confidence in their goalkeeper and things like that. Yesterday was back to everybody doing their job and doing it well. Eliminating the errors. We spoke about this. Dyche spoke about this. I spoke about it right since Steve Cooper's days. Take the errors out. All of a sudden the confidence starts building. Even if you don't win football matches, even if you lose sometimes, but if they're not done on blatant errors, when players start believing themselves again, and you saw an all-round team performance, and I think. Again, the basis of that was the goalkeeper knowing exactly who we got between the sticks and back to some kind of form. He has been a bit ropey this season, along with everybody else. I find it hard to criticise individuals at times when it comes to ability and performance levels. I question commitment quite a lot, but I find it hard because everybody's been below what they were last season. But you can see when with Sells and players like that, he does seem like a confidence player. When everybody else is on their game, it brings his level up as well. And that's what kind of that save from Saka was brilliant and basically kept the game at 0-0.
I was watching your post-match, Dave, and I've never seen you praise Sangare so much. I'm like, is this AI? This must be AI from Des saying it. But for me, like, again, I thought Sangare was excellent as well. One of the players that I thought was everyone was great, but there were always a few players out there on the pitch was fantastic. People in the chat, what player stood out for you as well? But let's talk about it. Let's talk about Sangare, man.
Yeah, honestly, I think the best way I can describe it, and I've used the term in several places, I absolutely love that performance from him. Because that's exactly what I've asked for. It's not.
Yeah,
I can't ask for anything.
That's what we asked for.
But as a fan, that's what I wanted to see. From day one. And I think I've put on Twitter this morning in some sort of wrapping up some thoughts. Do you know, if people are critical of Dyche, and rightly so to some degree at times, but if he's done one thing well, it's get Sangare playing exactly as a number 6. Even Nuno didn't do that. Sangare wanted to be over here, and he wanted to run, and he wanted to break forward, and he probably wanted to be on the end of things. But now he's almost got that discipline about his performance, a simplicity to it. Just knocking balls out to the fullbacks, quickly, first time, rather than 4 touches, rather than getting caught on the ball. Just going into his tackle rather than dithering, knowing his position on the field. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And I actually thought if I'd have given man of the match yesterday, I'd have probably give it to Sangare, because I felt his performance was the catalyst for everyone else to go and do their thing. I felt Anderson, with him there, Anderson can go and do his thing. Gibbs White can go and do his thing. Dominguez can go and do his pressing and his pushing and covering every blade of grass. Because we had that pivot, the number 6, from day one in the Premier League. I said we needed number 6. And yesterday I felt he just got the ball, played it wide first time to the fullbacks or to the wingers to give the wingers an extra 2-3 yards of space. I thought Hudson-Odoi looked back on song, and I think that's partly because he was getting the ball a little bit quicker. He was getting it into Gibbs White. I don't think Gibbs White played particularly well, but it gave him an opportunity to move the ball forward a bit quicker again. And we did, whilst we weren't a massive threat, we did look okay at times going forward, a lot better than we have done. There's still a mountain to climb, but I just felt all of that was because of the simplicity in Sangare's game, which I think has been instilled by Dyche. I think that's his biggest attribute so far, is getting something after this out of this £35 million man who's been not that for a couple of seasons. And you hear him talk. I remember hearing him after the Graz game when he said he'd played brilliantly and he'd done all the things he'd ask of him. And since then, I just think he's got better and better. And everybody, we quite often use this term, best game for the club. People have said that 3 or 4 times since Dyche has come in about Sangare, and that's where I think the level of performance. And again, I was a bit sceptical with AFCON and thinking, is he going to come back the old Sangare? I'm still waiting for the bubble to burst. But I can only comment on what I see, and what I saw yesterday was a really, really good midfield number 6 performance. Something we've been lacking from day one. We've never had the ideal person in that role, because we tried to play number 8s there most of the time, But with Sangare yesterday, it felt like we had that number 6, and you had midfield players who could take on Arsenal's midfield. We're taking on one of the best midfields in the league.
It was.
It gave Anderson the opportunity to face up to Declan Rice and sort of go toe to toe with him, and I thought Anderson sort of grabbed that opportunity and really shown what he was all about again. But yeah, for me, man of the match, I've already sort of put it out there, but I just thought everything Forest did well was because of the calmness and the quick, not the calmness and the effectiveness of what he was doing, just in moving the football, and that's what it's about. That's all Dyche wants. When he says get the ball forward quickly, everyone thinks long ball. It's not long ball. It's getting the ball forward quickly. He doesn't say play it 50 yards in the air. It's getting it out to your winger when your winger's in space. Getting it into your midfielders when your midfielders are in space, and that's what he did. And I thought that meant that Arsenal had to be wary, if not particularly dangerous on our part. It meant they had to be wary of what we were doing, because on the break, as proved last season when we were on song, we can score goals. We have got good attacking players, So I thought Sangare was excellent, and I really, really enjoyed that performance.
100%. People, please do hit the like button if you can, and make sure you subscribe, and make sure everyone follows Des on social medias as well, on X, on Instagram, and we have travelled as well on Instagram, like he does his before and after reactions as well. You know what? There's another player that, again, we mentioned the midfield. They've got one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, if I'm honest. But playing Dominguez, I think he played more as left wing, didn't he? But again, I think he was another player. He's just non-stop running in there, and he always makes an effort because I think he doesn't get much credit as he gets from Ansengare, but he's another player. He's getting better and better in that Dyche formation, isn't it?
Absolutely, and look, he is a Dice type of player. If we're labelling things, he's a hard worker. But he didn't do anything for me yesterday than what he doesn't do in most games. He worked his socks off. Yes, he was good yesterday. Don't get me wrong, absolutely brilliant. And right up there with the man of the match contenders. But I think what was most telling with him is the reaction he got from the players and from the manager and even the owner. I was sat opposite the owner yesterday, right opposite. And when he went off, Marinakis got up and gave him a standing ovation. And it's the respect he got from his colleagues. Sometimes, look, they love it from the fans, and we love to think we're the most important people. But from his peers, he got that real respect. He saw everybody run up to him when he went off, and realised that he just put in a proper shift like you have to against these teams. And again, it's something I've been critical of with other players in recent weeks, but you can never ever fault his desire and determination. Occasionally he does pop up with an important goal, and he gets his head in and his foot in where it hurts, at times. And I think anything Forest did really positive going forward, he was normally at the centre of it, which you wouldn't have expected that part of it either. But he was the one sort of sitting at the back of it, pulling the strings to some degree. So it's kind of weird because he works in tandem. When we haven't got the ball, he's quite far forward. When we have got the ball, he goes back. It's a strange thing, but it works when it works. And again, against a team like Arsenal, where you're going to have to absorb a lot of pressure, it's fantastic, because you need to put them under as much pressure as you can, because the more time and space you give them, you're giving them time to produce their quality. But I think sort of Dominguez pressing high at times, but also defending and chasing and tracking back, it's priceless in most games. But games like that, you've got to have that type of player, who's going to do it.
People in the chat, I said, Des, was it a penalty? Yes or no?
No. Do you know why it wasn't a penalty? Because it was. If you look at the replay, if you look at the VAR replay, it's a penalty, right? It's not a penalty because 2 seconds before, Jesus kicks Aina in the chest, right? And this is why they've not given it, but they don't want to show this on the VAR because Oliver didn't give a foul when he should have given a foul on Aina, and then it is handball. So what he's done is allowed it to go for a corner, because this is how they work these days. That still gives Arsenal the advantage. If they take it back and say we've not given a penalty because of the foul, it's a free kick and Arsenal have lost their advantage. But this is how these things tend to work. It's like with the offsides. When Jesus is offside, the flag goes up early. When Martinelli should have scored and doesn't, then the flag goes up. And this is how it's working. So, yes, in the footage you see on the TV and all these Arsenal fans retweeting, who I've tried to have a pop at as many as I can this morning on Twitter.
Des, it's Sunday morning, man. Leave people alone, man. It's church. Leave them alone.
Exactly. It's church. It's my church. So on the basis of what you see on the replay, it's a penalty, because I don't know how it can't be, to be honest.
Yeah, but it goes there. It goes there. It's never people have done a poll. I've done a poll.
That back in door. But if you take it back just a split second, Jesus' foot's here. How can that not be a foul? And I remember jumping up at the time thinking, how does he give a corner for that? And then everybody's kind of like, VAR? What's going on?
Oh, I thought when you look at it, I've watched it so many times. It doesn't look like it's a penalty, if I'm honest. I don't think it's a penalty. Arsenal
Well,
fans.
I think on the handball it is because you almost yes it is a bit of momentum from Anderson, but you can't that can't.
Have you seen Dad? Have you seen Daj's thing with Martin Keown?
Yeah, and I loved it because Martin Keown's a twat, an idiot. Like, do you know what I thought about that? You have Neville and Carragher who are biased as hell, and do you know Arsenal pundits, Arsenal supporting pundits are far more cringeworthy than any other pundits, even Neville and Carragher. Because they will not have anything, and when they're talking about other clubs, they have to talk about Arsenal. So Keown talks rubbish because him and EMI and whoever they just don't let you say anything bad about Arsenal ever. And Dice said to him, didn't he? He says, "Oh, you'd have been furious about that." He said, "Yeah, I would in my day." Well, there you go. That's your answer.
That's your answer.
End of.
Yeah, I
And then he
know.
shut him up about all the play acting, didn't he?
This what happens. Like I said, it's all you hear when people like no disrespect to him, right? Andy him right and Mark Keown, they do things for the club, and they don't want to badmouth them because so they don't do things for the club. It's like with Forest. You can say it with people who work with Forest, like Dan Fletcher. Sometimes when he's doing interviewing Forest, he don't want to say sometimes a bad word about Forest because he wants to be in that kind of thing. But listen.
Well, there's a way of doing it, Dore, and they're cringeworthy. They don't, they don't accept anything. They don't accept any criticism. Sometimes you have to, and we all don't like Neville because he's a jumped up idiot, but at least he'll criticise Man United.
Yeah.
Carragher's the same with Liverpool, and that's why I say the Arsenal ones are so cringeworthy when it comes to defending Arsenal. It's just nonsense. So, what I will say about Arsenal, though, whilst we're on the subject about decisions and stuff, and what the guy said earlier on your comments about calling out what they are, it's awful. A lot of it's like they're obviously a talented football side with some really good players, but a lot of it's anti-football. The play acting and going down when we've got possession. And all these things where they fall into the floor and they don't want games restarted quickly because when they got a corner, it's all about them maximising that time. When we're up at the other end, they're time wasting, they're going down, they're doing this, they're drawing the momentum out. They're nudging forward on throw-ins. All these, look, don't get me wrong, it's part of the game, but all these dark arts, they think they're the pure football team that they used to be under Wenger. Not a chance. And let's face it, the top of the Premier League, because the Premier League is crap right now. The actual standard, about once every 4 or 5 seasons in the Premier League, the standard dips because it's almost like everybody's in a bit of transition. You look at Liverpool last year, won the league and new manager, and then you've got sort of Arsenal who can't win it, and now all of a sudden they defaulted to the top, and City and like teams like Spurs who technically should be up there, aren't up there. Man United, they've gone through their transition, going through their transition. So it's like this happens every 4, 5, 6 seasons where teams go through a transition, like when Leicester won the league. And weird things happen. You see by the set of results, and all of a sudden Arsenal are almost taking it now by default because they're not playing like champions and they're certainly not acting like champions. Look, it don't matter. You win it whichever way you win it. There's the teams that have shithoused away to it in the past, but they put themselves on a pedestal and they're pundits, and absolutely not. It's awful at times.
I think I agree with you on that. Like, Arsenal, they're a good team. They're a great team, and listen, I don't care. We got a point out of them. That's all it matters. That's all it matters.
Just on that Jokeres thing. If I said this morning, if they're the striker, they'd be 20 points clear.
That's why people in the chat.
Passenger.
There's
a passenger.
I think it was like 35 minutes into the game before he went. Is it 1-on-1 with Sells before Milo did that tackle? I didn't even see him on the pitch at all. There's one quick question, and this is from Michael about the free kick for us the last minute, and the ref called it back and taking it back. You know what I said, Michael, about that? If that was Arsenal, if Arsenal did that, I don't think the ref was refereeing blowing the whistle on that.
But this is what Dice was talking about a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? It's not even unconscious bias. They're giving them things. Do you know, we was in a position there that with the time left in the game, there was only going to be one winner at that point, and that's if we'd have put on a good attack and scored a goal. Because there weren't even time for Arsenal to come back again. But by blowing it back, he ensured that game was finishing 0-0. And that's where they make conscious or unconscious decisions to allow games to flow in the favour of the big teams. That's what I was talking about with when he actually gave the corner from the no penalty. He gave a corner because if he actually gives a free kick against Jesus and takes it back that little bit further, that's why they didn't give the penalty in reality, because if they'd give it, then Forest would have been up in arms saying, take it back that little bit further, let's see the kick in the chest. But it actually keeps Arsenal in the momentum. So Arsenal have actually come out of it in favour of poor decisions throughout that process. We didn't come out in favour because everyone will say, oh, well, you didn't get a penalty against her. Well, we didn't get the free kick either, which would have turned over the ball and got us going forward again rather than defending. And it's the same there with the free kick. Blowing up at stupid, like, if you don't look into it too much and you isolate them all on a one-by-one basis, you can't really argue with them because the ref can go, oh, well, that's what I saw, pull it back, blah, blah, blah. But when they're doing it a dozen, 15, 16, 20 times a game and giving them the momentum back every single time. Like I said, the offside's the biggest one, where players get flagged early when they play for the so-called smaller teams, and then we wait till the ball's in the back of the net for the bigger teams, or the flag don't even go up, and then they get given corners and throw-ins deep into opposition half. And that's where look, corrupt's a big word, but it's where the referees can't manage football matches very well, because they're now over reliant on what they might see or hear from VAR.
100%. Is Mono trying if that was at the end, we'll be 3 minute re-penalty. I'll take it all day long though. Again, another one for Mono. Nadoi should his pace going forward for the first time. Bring on Bogger. Let's talk about Nadoi. I know it was the last 5 minutes he come on. And I was surprised he come on for Taro. Do you think it was the right choice, Des? Because I said it before the game. Taro won it. I don't know if people knew this. Taro won it was is the only Forest player to score past Arsenal since we got promoted. I don't know if you all knew that. And do you think you're surprised, Des, with Nadoi coming on the last 5 minutes?
Potentially, but I see why he did it. It was just raw pace, wasn't it? He just put him on for raw pace, and if anything was going to break, then potentially could get in behind him. Look, as a little cameo role, he did okay, but what I'd advise against is caution. Let's not get too strung up on Ndoi coming on for a 5 minute cameo at the end of a hard fought game, where both teams are feeling it, because that's all it was. It was a cameo. He still didn't really have many shots. He still didn't really take anyone on. Yes, his pace at times got past people, but it didn't produce anything. I've seen too much, I feel, on Twitter already saying, oh, I like Ndoi again. It's got to... Every player's got to do this, not just Ndoi. They've got to prove themselves over a period of time. And at the moment, like most other signings, he hasn't. Like Jokeres for Arsenal. Like Wirtz and Isak at Liverpool. These players are getting signed on a whim sometimes, and then they're not as good as they think they are. But in terms of yesterday, and the question you asked me, I thought, yes, it was okay. I got why he did it. People are asking for different substitutions, aren't they? If Dice had put Tyro on, he'd have got stick for... He always makes the same substitutions. So he's tried to do something a little bit different, and maybe on another day, he gets on the end of something and fires the goal in, and it's a masterstroke. And you have to remember that about football. Sometimes it's very much the same 99% of the time until something happens. So people criticise Tyro coming on week in, week out and doing nothing up top. Well, in reality, neither did Ndoye, apart from his pace took him past people at times, and he flicked the ball a couple of times and managed to keep it in play. Is that really enough? Yes, for yesterday and keeping us in the game and keeping it, but would that be enough over 90 minutes? I don't think so, and we've got to find a way to get him living up to his value. There is a player in there, I believe, in Ndoye.
I think there is Des, if I'm honest. There is a player, I think, because he's only scored 2 goals for us. Is it 2 goals for us since we signed him? And he's not done.
Do you know what I think's important for Ndoye is Aina. A bit more solidity behind him and getting him back on the right hand side. Because that's how it started. We know Aina's got pace to cover, to overlap, to create space for Ndoye. By doing both of the things I've just mentioned. So then you've got Ndoye who's probably got a little bit more freedom. It's like what I was talking about with Sangare and get the ball to them quicker. You know, it's getting players back in the team, isn't it? And let's make no bones about it. I'm not making excuses for Dyche here because it's happened with other managers. But Aina's been injured, massive part of the team. Sangare's been out for a while because of AFCON. These are players that walk straight into the team, as proven in the last couple of weeks. Even Aina, when he was probably 60% fit, walks into the team. We've had conversations on this show before. Would he come in? And I always maintained he's straight back in because of what he does. And if you've got him doing his job and Sangare doing his job, some of the emphasis then comes off Ndoye. It gives him that bit of space. And then he starts running at people again. He gets his confidence up, and before you know it, your players are coming out. And this is what happened with our wingers last year. They didn't start the year particularly well. Hudson-Odoi and Elanga. Elanga had a massive confidence crisis early in the season. But then because all of a sudden we were playing in such a way that allowed them to express themselves, the ball was into them quickly. They were running quickly. They were getting the balls into Wood quickly. He was taking his chances, and it was all being sort of highlighted. The confidence built in them, and that's when the real player comes out, And that's what I see with Ndoye. It'd be interesting to see how it develops over the next couple of weeks. It seems that Hudson-Odoi is finding some form now and some confidence from that Wrexham game. I thought he played well at times yesterday. Looked to want to run at players a lot more yesterday. We need that from Ndoye on the other side, but like I say, it's those players, particularly Sangare and Aina, who give him that platform almost, because football's all about partnerships all over the pitch. You've got little partnerships and players working in tandem. It builds up to the bigger team picture. So yeah, I won't get too excited on what he did yesterday. In terms of the substitution, I get it. I was a little bit surprised it weren't Tyro. If he'd have brought Tyro on, I wouldn't have complained too much either, because Tyro might have knocked him about a bit, because that's what he does. That's what he's there to do. He's there to occupy them, and then let other people sort of run in and do their thing, and hopefully bring Gibbs White and Anderson into play. But yeah, I get the reason he did it, especially the criticism he's had over making the same substitutions and doing the same things week in, week out.
100%. People, please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you can. Mark, good seeing you last night. I hope you are, my friend. Only Forest and Liverpool, and I've only stopped Arsenal. Yeah, I know. Just to tell you that, Forest, Matt Sells and Allison are the only ones I stopped him from scoring goals. Then let's talk about Dyche, because, like I said, we spoke about Dyche has been given, and people who at the Dyche Art Brigade. I kept the mouth shut on social media. He got it right yesterday, didn't he? He got to, because I thought yesterday that was his strongest team, if I'm honest. But people in the chat as well, did he get it right? Did he get it wrong? Do you think he could have done something better? Please get involved in the chat. Des, what's your thoughts on Dyche yesterday? Do you think he got it right, or he could have done better than?
Of course he got it right, because we got a positive result, and you mentioned that was his strongest team. Well, that just shows that he hasn't had the players available to him. You got Sankare coming back in as if he's not been away. You've got Aina building week on week Aina's fitness. You could see yesterday he was knackered again after 75 minutes. He had his hand on his knees when he wasn't when the ball was dead. But you can see he's getting there, and he did an excellent job in managing his own fitness through a game, in which was tough. Whether he had Martinelli or the other guy Trossard in his pocket or not, there's still tough opposition. But those two players, and I've used this sort of analogy before. 20% of the team there, 20% of the outfield team, 1/5 of the team just coming back. It's going to make a difference. I don't think Dyche actually did too much different to what he's done. He's just got his better players available. What I think a good decision was to take Hutchinson out of the team. I think there's been a few. Whilst Hutchinson's been great in the main, and of course he provides a threat, I think at times he's probably a better option to come off a bench, particularly in a game like that where we're going to have to dig in. A little bit of naivety has led to goals, over the last couple of weeks. Of course, there was the penalty miss, and we didn't know how that was going to affect him. So I thought it was a good move to take him back out of the team. And I think he's a massive fan of Dominguez, as we all are to some degree, but I think Dyche particularly likes that type of player. And with Gibbs White and with Anderson and with Sangare and Callum Hudson-Odoi back on form, you had to find a way to get him in, to get Dominguez in. And I think that was getting Dominguez in and taking Hutchinson out the firing line was exactly the right thing to do yesterday. Just to maybe to recharge his batteries, to get him thinking again about his game, and hopefully some of the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, which he could have done better in terms of leading up to goals, to get them out of his system so they don't affect his confidence too much. So when he is coming into the action, he's coming in to make a real difference. So yeah, I thought Dyche got it spot on, but I thought it was the fact that those players were back, and he's been bemoaning it. All managers will when they've got injuries, bemoaning the fact that he's not had these players, but it just does show what a difference it makes. So we start by talking about Sells, and I said Sells has got to be confident in what's in front of him. The defence was a lot more solid. The wing back, the fullbacks did their job. We spoke about the midfield players doing their job. Brilliant pressing from the front. I used all of this on my post match, and that's what built in a proper performance. What Dyche has got to do, and my biggest critic right now of Dyche is I don't think the players are actually responding to him particularly well. Because when it comes to Everton at home or Wrexham away, some of these superstars have got to perform better than they have been performing. It's okay doing it in front of Pep and Arteta and Tuchel and people like that. They've got to start responding to what he's doing. And again, through someone like Sangare and him taking on board, as it seems, as I feel he has, he's setting an example in the fact that if Dyche is telling him to get that ball forward a bit quicker, one touch rather than three, or just play it out here, or just knock it there, or get into this tackle, then he's setting the example for the rest of the players to actually listen to the manager and take more ideas on board, and not be caught a little bit like rabbits in the headlight. I think of Savona and Hutchinson in recent weeks have probably been thrown in early, done good jobs, but thrown in early into a toxic situation which is built up very quickly, and that's not good for anyone. But now, yesterday, you saw that experience and that team togetherness, and the more sort of good results you get on the back of that, it builds confidence in everyone. Everyone builds confidence in each other. You've seen in the Man U game, Casemiro's all over Michael Carrick, when they thought they made it 3-0. They'd never played together. They're not long-standing mates, but they're buying into it because they weren't buying into the other guy. And I think for Forest to progress, it's Brentford away, Palace at home, Leeds away, all these games where they've really got to buy into it. And one thing I'd like to see is to get that confidence really going is just go away to Europe and put in an absolutely top performance. You know, it doesn't have to be 4-0, just a solid 2-0 win, or or whatever the score is, it don't matter. But a real solid top performance where they look committed and willing to win this competition. Because I think that's upset momentum to this point to some degree. Because we're going chop and change, and yeah, it's not the end of the world if we don't win this game and we don't win that game. No, it's not the end of the world, because the league is the most important thing. But again, it builds momentum, and it gives players confidence and belief that things are actually working on the football pitch. When you go and play the first half at Wrexham, the actual good players that come in the second half they've not just got to play well, they've got to unpick the mess. They've got to win the game twice, which they failed to do. They won the game the first time, by coming on and getting us back into it. But then they had to go and win it again, and they just couldn't get over the line. It gave them that little bit too much to do. And that's kind of happening over a longer period of time, I feel. The European games are actually ruining momentum. It always will. And you have to make changes to some degree. But he's already said now, I can't trust these players. That was the interview after Wrexham. This is a lot, basically, unless we sign new players.
I think what is it? Who was it in the squad? It was Jadenko, because he against his old club. Backward was it on the bench? It was anyone else not on the bench? That Jack Cunha wasn't on the bench. Was anyone else that who played against Wrexham was not on the bench? I can't remember. There's quite a few players. Maybe Dyche doesn't trust them. It's simple as that.
The thing is, whether he trusts them or not, the squad is not, bizarrely, after all the signings we've made over the last couple of years, the squad's not massive either, is it?
No.
So to some degree, they have to stay there unless they move them on and bring in additions. And again, we all thought we was improving on what we were last year.
We haven't.
We haven't actually improved. And we've got to sign players that are going to walk into the first team. So I'm not even going to get into the Callum Mwende argument.
Oh, there are those there.
But McAtee, right? It's all right saying he's not had a chance, he's not had this. Tough. He's a professional footballer earning a lot of money. Doesn't matter whether he's young or not. Take your chances. Do what you have to do right. And they have had opportunities. Maybe not much, but sometimes that's the brutal world of football, isn't it? So what we need now is players to really come in and just walk into the first team almost, because Sangare walks into the first team, Aina walks into the first team, makes it better. And I think if we could get one or two additions, you might see again just that next step of where we are as a club, and hopefully it always comes back to this: securing Premier League survival quite comfortably. I feel every win now, or every point even, whilst I'm stating the absolute obvious, but because of the gap to West Ham, even though they narrowed it down a little bit, every point we get heaps pressure on them. Really heaps pressure on the teams below us, because they have to win 2 more games than us. So we'll win 3 or 4, 5 games maybe before the end of the season. That means they have to win 7. And it starts looking really unlikely as each game ticks by. So I just think each point and each result, and there's going to be some tough ones to take in the process, but as soon as we get safe, we can almost concentrate on the Europa. We can look for the real shining light in the season, because it hasn't gone. I said this on my pre-match thing. It's been a tough season, and I think most of us couldn't accept that to a point. And I think once you start accepting, yes, it's been one of those. It's a transition we weren't expecting. We was expecting to go again. I think once you start accepting that, you think, yeah, well, if we get over this sort of relegation line, we'll probably only need 35, 36 points. Once the closer we get to that, and the nearer we get with games to go, we can really put all our eggs in one basket and actually turn the season into a real positive. And results and performances like yesterday show there's real ability and capability to do that.
We're going to end this topic about the games today. Like I said, good point for Forest. Like I said, we know Leeds and West Ham, they scored in the 93rd minute, and Leeds scored in the 93rd minute as well. But we're still 5 points away from bottom three, and it's important. It's a point for us against a team who's top of the league. And like I said, we're in a team that keep a clean sheet against them. So listen, it's something positive. We are going to talk about Prague now, but before we do, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Make sure, like I said, everyone follows Des. I keep forgetting, Des is back on YouTube now. He's doing his due diligence. Is there anyone wants to talk about any mental health, likes doing loads of running, like Des does? I know Des is going to go for a run later on, as always. Let's talk about Prague, Des. Like I said, these next two games are so important, and I don't want Deitch playing a B team against these lot, because Prague and I can't pronounce the other team. They're in that top eight. I think that's the word. They're in the top eight, and we've got to take this game so serious, don't we?
Absolutely, because for me, and look, I'm not disrespecting anything, because the league is absolutely the priority. But I'd go all out against Braga, because all of a sudden you got a little bit of feel good from the Arsenal game. Feeling like we can compete again. What you don't want to do is take the team, rip the team apart again, have a sluggish performance at best. Even if we scrape over the line like we did against Utrecht. Said at the time we were papering over the cracks against Utrecht. But what we need to do is win that game to take into the Brentford one. And I actually think Braga, well, it is the most important because it's the next game. But I think it's more important than Brentford, because the likely result against Brentford on form, I'm not saying it's going to happen because you never know, but is we'll get beat because they're very good at home, and that where they are in the league and where we are. So what's the point taking Braga less seriously, because we'll probably get beat anyway. I'm not saying we will get beat again, but probably on the odds, on the expectations, on form, on everything else. So take this game serious. And when it comes to Europe itself, if we win both these games against opposition, right? I've had this argument all season, people saying, yeah, but they're in the top eight. The opposition in the Europa League is crap in the main. There's a handful of teams, ourselves, Aston Villa, maybe Roma, Stuttgart, who are probably decent. But teams like Braga and Ferencváros, if you're really thinking of going to Istanbul and winning it, you should be beating them. And if we beat these two teams, because they're in the top eight, and because are we 11th or somewhere like that? Wherever we are.
Yeah.
And with other results going the way they go, if we win the last two games, we finish in the top eight. Again, the club and Dice and everyone else and the fans bemoaning about how many games and not having a rest and all these things. Well, give yourself a chance of having a rest. Right, we're already at the FA Cup. So try and win these last two games, and then you get 2 more midweeks off. 2 more Thursday nights, which are going to have to be... Hey?
I hope so. We have a rest. I can't afford it, Des.
Well, exactly. That's why I want it more than anything. I want it selfishly more than anything. But the reality is, give the players, when the squad is a bit threadbare, when the new signings haven't done so well, give the players that are going to play most weeks, especially when it comes to knockout. And that's what we've got to remember. It's going to be, these games are going to have jeopardy in them. There's going to be, they're going to go to another level. Imagine being 0-0 with Celtic at Parkhead, going into the 70th minute, and it's winner takes all. It's that kind of thing. So they're going to be big games. There's going to be a lot more intensity put into those. So what you need to do is win these games that are actually very winnable. Put out your best players, get your 6 points on the board. I can tell you now, if we get 6 points, we will definitely finish it, because the mathematics means we can't, because of teams who would have to play each other. We finish in the top. We've already qualified for the playoff, because you only need about 11 points. If you look based on last season, it's actually really hard not to qualify. But again, teams tend to tiptoe through it because they've made a mockery of the competition. It should be knockout all the way. and then teams will take it seriously all the way through. But I think now we have to take it seriously. We have to really sort of start thinking, well, yeah, if we win these games, we get in that top 8, we'll get a more favourable draw, small margins and all that. We'll probably get when we get to the next round, we'll probably get a home game second. I don't know if that's strictly true, but we probably will. And you're playing teams who have played more games.
No, right now, this moment in time, we're playing Fenerbahce in the playoffs. Do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so because if you download the Europa app, it does like KO playoffs, and so right now we're playing Fenerbahce at home. So,
but the thing is, with 2 games to go, that changes with every goal.
It'll change anyway. It'll change.
Even just a goal will affect goal difference, and it'll push people up and down the league. But it's a good indicator. Of where you are, but we want to be in that top 8, and like I say, being at the Cup, it makes February quite quiet, which again gives the management team and potentially with new signings coming in, it gives them time to work on things and start sort of reevaluating where we're at. There's been a lot of talk about players being tired and playing too many games. Well, here's your opportunity. I don't know if you saw Palace, when Palace played against those minnows from Finland or wherever they were, Iceland or Finland.
Lost 2-1.
And they got beat, right, because they put out kids. But if they won that game, they were definitely in the top 8. And I thought, that is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, but there's been on Saturday as well. Do you know that?
Well, yeah, but I get that. But why weren't your whole... They won the FA Cup, right, their biggest achievement ever, and they got into Europe. Their biggest achievement after winning the FA Cup, right? A competition they can win. Palace, at that point, Palace looked nowhere near like relegation fodder. Try and win the football match in front of you. Your players could get injured and tired in training, but they messed it up. Knowing what I know now, he's probably thrown that game because he knew we weren't going to be there in January.
No. He's staying. I've just seen it on social media.
You know why they're making him stay? Because they're trying to play devil's advocate with him now, aren't they? They're trying to get him. They're playing Russian roulette with each other. They're trying to get him to quit now. They don't want to pay him the money.
Okay, Forest fans, if you got a bit jolly about Glasner, he's not going. He is staying, and that's so.
He'll be gone by the end of the week.
Before we do get Des, you looking forward to our Braga trip?
I am. I'm actually going in the morning.
Oh, going in the morning?
Yeah. So me and Kay are going. We're out till Friday, so a bit of a holiday, bit of a mini break. So really looking forward to that. And again, I was hoping it'd be a bit warmer, but it's chucking it down there as well, apparently.
Oh, great! I'm going Wednesday. My flight's 5:15. So, you know what? It's still you're still gonna pinch yourself, don't you, Des? Like we are. This is our 4th trip now. Seeing Forest away. So, people in the chat, if you are going to Braga and if this is your 4th trip, make sure we take advantage of this amazing trip that we are going to. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited for it. I think
we're going to save them up, haven't we? Because again, once it comes knockout, you don't know when the last one is, and you don't know when the next one is.
Exactly. I think what I'm hearing is the knockout stages. Well, if we are in the bloody playoffs, where is it? Knockout phases. It's the 18th and 19th of February. I think it is. Yeah, 18th and 19th February and 25th, 26th. The group stages is 11th, 12th, 18th, 19th of March as well, and then March 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th as well. So listen, I'm praying to God selfishly we do win these next 2 games because Forest are taking too much money off me, and I need to stop. They need to stop. No, I'm joking. I'm looking forward to it. Right, I'm gonna get going. Thank you for Des for coming and taking us to lunch show. And I think I've enjoyed that. People, I really enjoy the lunch ones as well. But I've got another one tonight at 8 p.m. with Dave, Pat, and Kate. That's at 8 o'clock. So if you want to watch that as well. Before doing, there's one for Kate, for Eve. I mean, good evening, good afternoon, Mr. Dore and Des. Hope you're well. Before I'm having lunch with my friend Amber. It's a birthday, so we're treating her. So I'm catching up the stream later on. I'm smiling with joy. Yeah, you are happy with the draw. So I hope you and Amber, and happy birthday, Amber, as well. Right, Des, thank you for coming on. Enjoy your trip tomorrow to Portugal. Make sure you treat Kate. I know you're not treating her as much. I know being a married man and all that. Sorry, Des, I got to throw that in. Well, yeah, people, thank you for, like I said, enjoy. I'm doing a special stream, but before I fly out to Prague on Thursday. Like, if you are a member, only members can come on. But if you want to be a member, click on the dollar sign, and I'll get members on here. So if you want to come on the stream, just click on the stream for Tuesday as well. Right, I'm getting going. I'll be back tonight.
And everybody, comment if you want Dore to do a live show from Braga on Thursday morning.
Thursday morning? You mad? Well, where are you staying? Where are you staying?
I'll be in Braga early.
Well, no, I'm staying in I'm staying in Porto.
Well, we can do a show from Porto then, can't we?
Oh, bloody hell, Des.
Wednesday afternoon.
No. I'm not flying until what?
We'll sort that out.
We'll sort that out. No. It's good. No, it'd be good. If you want to do, if you want to do a show, you can. But we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out. Right, people. I'll see you at 8 o'clock later on. Make sure you're there. Make sure before you do leave, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you tonight. Peace and love. Up the bloody forest.